Okay, so we'll go ahead and kick this off. People can join a little bit late. We do have a number of wins and lessons and demos. And then I did put together the set of trivia questions to see who gets exempt from the dreaded wheel of names. So let's kick this off. Okay, so the first demo that we're gonna have is with Ryu, who's gonna. He actually had two things, so I saved one for next time. I think both were good, but I picked Unified Fleet expert interview findings. So Ryu, do you have anything to share, or do you just want to talk through it?
Okay, thank you, Russell. Let me share my screen.
Sure.
Okay, can you see my screen?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, so as you know, we have been working on the epic called Unified Fleet, which addresses the heterogeneous fleet and also the scaling of the fleet up to hundreds and thousands. So we did conducted expert interviews with our customers this week. The one with Anya from Kutcher, and also Phil Grice from BRT, and Ashley from Mayo Clinic. We actually also have another one coming up next week. But I think at this point, this is a sort of a summary. And whenever we do this customer interview or user research, it's always interesting to really directly hear how they respond to our concepts. And this really helps us so that we don't end up actually building something, and then that results in kind of waste of time. So it's I think Russell, I think mentioned quite often, like fail fast. So it's very much in line with that kind of a notion. So so basically, for the heterogeneous fleet visualization, it's overall well received, and so but then some participants suggested that when in a group by robot type view, and let me yeah, so this might be a little bit small, but when you apply group by, and then our fleet kind of get grouped by whichever the group uh, type that you selected. Initially, we were just showing the selected robot with all the detailed statuses. But I think the participant suggested that if you're selecting one robot out of this specific robot type, then that means all the other robots within that same robot type has the same status set. So, the participant wanted to be able to see all the status detail this way, so that it's quicker to glance. And also, some of the participants mentioned that when you're looking at the heterogeneous fleet, let me go to, so here, this is the the regular view. And so when we initially worked on the heterogeneous fleet, so when you select any of the robot, and if that group of robot that you're currently looking at is in fact a heterogeneous fleet. And then, the different robot types may have different status sets, which is why we came up with this design where only selected robot shows the detailed status for that particular robot. So if you select another robot, the status set, detailed status set might be different from the previous one, which is this one. But then, some of the participants mentioned that if you're in this view without clicking anything, it's hard to understand whether this is heterogeneous fleet or not. And that's where the notion of the the default view kind of comes into play. So if you do the apply this group by, and right now we are looking at this group by robot type. So for some of the participants, if your fleet is a heterogeneous fleet, then this might be something that they would like to have as their default view to start from. And I think the notion and concept about default view, we had it in the past also, but that default view really seems to resonate well with all the participants. Okay. And when it comes to that default view, there could be a company level default view as well as a personal default view. And company level default view could potentially be, broken down into different role. In some of the participants' case, if she has a team of operator who's focusing on the cleaning robot across all the sites versus another group which might be in charge of material handling robots across all the sites. In that case, the former might want to focus on all the cleaning robot to begin with, while the latter might be you might want to focus on the material moving robot and obviously don't care about the cleaning robot. Okay, and then in terms of the summary view, and let me go back to this prototype. Sorry, some of the things may not be working well. Okay, where do we want to go? Okay, let me hold on for a second.
Meanwhile, if you want, does anybody
Yes,
have like questions, or does everybody understand the problem we're facing, the UX problem we're trying to solve, or have an idea, or want to share anything, or questions, or whatever? I am happy to answer. Hi, Rosina.
Hello. So not knowing the product well enough yet, the default view, are you able to configure that yourself for the company, or is that something that we set for the company and for the individuals?
Yeah, so the idea is that any user will probably have very different default view that they want.
Okay.
So our intention is try to provide a system that allows any user to set their default view in any way that they want. Because and then I think some of the participants strongly suggested not to hard code anything, so that they have control over things.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. So I wanted to bring this. So this expert interview, there were two, main themes that we wanted to test. One is that how to visualize a heterogeneous fleet. Heterogeneous fleet meaning, all different types of robots. Each may have very different data set. And then the second portion is how to show like hundreds and thousands of robots. So to that second point, what we tested is this what we call this summary view. So when you click this toggle in the control bar, it kind of changes the visualization to this kind of view, which works well if you start to have thousands of robots, because in the current view, if you have thousand or even hundreds of robots, then you will have to scroll almost like infinitely to see all these color chips. And so for the summary view, again, it was so overall, again, the comment that we received is positive, but there are really interesting points that we heard. So, and then, some participant described wanted to be able to quickly switch between the regular view already grouped by a robot type to the summary view grouped by robot type. And her case is interesting because she's kind of a head of a robot operation, and she has those two very different needs. The one is as a robot operation person who wants to quickly find all the robot with problems and then try to fix those as fast as possible. For those, the regular view group by robot works really well, so that she can quickly get to the point. So this view. But at the same time, on the other hand, because she's kind of head of that robot operation, so she also has a very different need where she needs to kind of analyze the overall fleet in terms of how it's doing overall. For example, if there's a software update that happened, is that the robots with the newer version of the software, is it overall over time, is it running well or not, and those type of things. So for that purpose, she said that she preferred that summary view. And in fact, with the summary view, you can immediately see these numbers, which also really helps when you do those kind of analysis type of work. Jihan?
Yeah, I had a question or a thought. Would it make sense if there was a summary view per type of robot? Let's say we had vertical bars, and then if you click on that, you get an expanded view that looks something like the group by robot view, but only for that one.
Yeah. So yeah, great point. So I didn't go through all of the demos, but you can certainly do the group by. And if you do that while in summary view, it kind of gives you something like this, from which you can also jump into the detail. Okay, going back to the insights. Yeah, and then, but then, I think quite a few participants commented that the summary view is definitely not for like L1, robot operator type of people, because they're focusing on fixing problems, not so much about analytics. And in fact, one of the participants mentioned that the summary view is definitely not for those L1 type of operators, more for managers, executives, and data scientists. And even one of the participants described it as this is not so much of a RobOps tool, but rather it's an analytics tool, which is a very interesting way of framing. And I think it does speak to the I think the core of the point. I think the reality is we are trying to address those L1 type of robot operation needs, as well as those kind of analytics needs in a way. And we in fact already have a mission analytics dashboard, for example. But I think just hearing from participant directly in a kind of a blatant way, it's actually was really interesting to hear. So that leaves, it's already kind of described, and I already touched upon that. But from that perspective, the summary view is addressing very different type of user as well as a use case. And I think the important thing is that we need to be clear about those. Yeah. So that's Phil Grice from BRT, and he has always been kind of giving us great insights in a quite blatant way, which is really good. Because the whole point of user research is not so much about just hearing about, oh, this is great, and that's it. If that's the case, then we don't get a chance to learn and improve. Okay, so and then actually he also mentioned about whether we should visually represent something like this with this. If you notice, this is I added this intentionally so that in case that visually accurate, mathematically accurate representation is not possible, then we still have a way to kind of accommodate that. But then he was kind of against this, and then he wanted to have a perfectly accurate representation. But so there's definitely a room for us to explore and think through this. I think the reality is, even if we try to do the visually accurate representation as much as possible, there's still a limit as to, if the proportion gets so, like dramatic, then the thinnest portion can only go as thin as 1 pixel, even if it in reality might be a 0.25 pixel or something. So at that point, that visually accurate representation kind of collapses in a way. But I think there's a lot of interesting thing that can go in there, which we can totally explore. But I think the fact that those are surfaced as a result of these customer interview was really interesting. Arjit?
Yeah, I just have a comment about the mathematically accurate scaling. Could a possible solution be to have the ability to zoom into this view and then have it just be zoom in, zoom out so that you're able to see those numbers? Or I don't know, is that even feasible?
Yeah, I think that's an interesting perspective. I think we also have to kind of balance between what we are trying to achieve. And for summary view, I think the goal is really try to give the overview, in one shot without user having to scroll or having to do anything extra. Because what we currently have today, so zooming is definitely an interesting concept, but it kind of start to get a little bit similar to what we currently have, which is basically we have scroll. So this could be only the tip of the iceberg, and as you scroll, and then there's more. So it's a slightly different way of handling, whether it's a scrolling larger list and only expose portion of it, or zooming and so on. But I think all of those are interesting point with all of the depth, and if we really dive in. Yeah, so I think that is overall, and yeah, I just wanted to. Yeah, so this is based on that default view. So this is a kind of a fresh setting a default view portion of the prototype. And I don't know if you can see, but there's I added this heart icon, and this it's kind of based on the Google Chrome browser bookmark type of interaction. But it might be hard to understand. So if you hover, maybe it shows you a description, like click to save the current fleet view as a default. And then when you click, then it turns to this filled heart. And then now, this view, which is a group by, becomes a default. So when you log out and then log back in, this is what you see. So that's the idea. We might still need to refine a little bit more because this start to open up a bit of a can of a worm. Do we need a multiple default view or so on? But at this point, I think we probably want to keep it minimum and go from there. So I think we probably want to keep it at the as simple as possible, minimum as possible. But I think this even though we initially didn't include this default view as a thing to test during the planning of this expert interview, I think it kind of naturally came out as a result of showing heterogeneous fleet and summary view and how they may want to use. So I think, and then we heard about this need before too. And in fact, myself, whenever I log into Brickmart, I tend to always do the filter by robot space because our robot space has the best data, and I always felt a bit of a stupid to that you always have to do that. But I think it's good that we uncovered that once again. So I think that's pretty much all I wanted to share. And sorry, Russell, maybe I took a bit too long.
No, not at all. This is super important. Really awesome work, and like doing these types of user studies is really, really valuable. Because at the end of the day, we can think it's awesome, but if the customer doesn't, they're not going to pay us. And, that's what we need. Awesome. Thank you for that. Let's go back to Chrome. Oop. Nope. Not that one. Stop. No. I hope you didn't see that because it gives a trivia answer away. This one. Okay. Okay. So the next one, Jeff said that he could whip up a lesson for us. So I have no idea what this is going to be about, but Jeff, off to you for a lesson.
All right, thanks, Russell. All right, so we just wrapped up the Google for Startups Sales Academy, I guess I'd call it. And one lesson I want to share today is what they call as feature, bridge, and benefit. And I think it applies to all of us, actually, even if we're not interfacing with customers, but kind of thinking about our features and ultimately how we share them with customers and what they actually stand out for. And so one from here, I think, like, if we can just take and think about what it means. And so ultimately, your feature is an undisputable fact. And then your bridge, you really want, so like whether we're saying, we have this robot's co-pilot, we have time capsule, what does it actually do though for them, not us, right? And it sounds super intuitive and it's super easy, but I'd ultimately really encourage everyone to think about this whenever they're interfacing with not even our own team customers, but also our own team, and really leveraging that word you. And I think will ultimately lead to better outcomes. And so a couple examples we've done in class. And so they gave a few of just like, we offer 45-minute corporate brain breaks, which will be great for you and your team because your employees will stay engaged and fun and oriented way. And so ultimately, for us, is it live viewing of all your tractors so that you are always able to know the uptime and health of all of them, even when you're miles away? View all remote cameras so that you and your engineers can have full visibility in seconds, save time, and help you debug. And so I think really the emphasis is just around you and ultimately changing that framing. And so hopefully the team can have some takeaways. I'll share this deck and some of the slides later for everyone. But I just think RJ, you get more involved on some sales calls as well as some of the other folks recent to the team. I think this is a really good practice and exercise for all of us to think about. And so happy to pass that lesson along.
Yes,
That's all I got.
it'd be great.
Quickly
It'd be great if you can share the theory or the material that you have. It'd be great.
Awesome. I will share it. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. That's awesome. All right, let me just get my tab back. There we go. Okay, so we have two VDA demos that we're going to do. The first one's going to be Rudy with some improvements that we did. So I'll pass it off to Rudy for this one.
Sounds good. My Wi-Fi does kind of suck, so if I do cut off, please let me know. Let me just share my screen really quick. Okay, so I'm just gonna showcase what I worked on this week. It was mostly VDA 50/50, and in layman terms, so VDA 50/50 has a lot of stuff to deal with the key value pairs here. So we publish a lot of information here. So my task was a mix of two tasks. So I'm gonna go over the first one. So there's a lot of information which gets in these little arrays, and that say that you get like 100 things, like 100 elements in these arrays. So the problem is that you don't want this space to get botched up because it's so limited, right? And we were thinking that, oh, do we have to go through every single thing, every bit of information? We don't. We can just look at the latest X number of elements in the array and be done with it. So we thought, and we can choose that X accordingly. So we thought that how about we make something through which we slice up all the other elements and just keep the number of elements that we want. So I'm just gonna, so this is like the backside of things. I already have the master controller running so that I don't waste a lot of time. So what I did was, so we're going to work with the loads array. So I put in 4 different elements into it. And what we are trying to do is, if we publish stuff here, we are probably going to see it on an orbit. So the first ID is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So what we are trying to do is when we publish, we don't want to see this one. We want to see the other ones because that's what the basic task was. So let me go ahead and publish this.
Sorry, Rudresh,
Yeah.
Rudy, do you mind expressing things like from the role they are playing? Like when you say we are going to publish, is that the robot? Right. Is that who is doing that action in the VDA device, the master controller?
So this is the broker. So so if I publish something from here, it goes to the MC, and you're probably gonna see it here, and then you're gonna first see it here, and then on an orbit. So what I mean is, so say that I publish it here. So you first see all this stuff here, and then it further goes into an orbit. Because my internet kind of sucks, it might not show up here directly, but it might take some time. But then if you want to see it here, so it does say 67890, which was the second ID and not the first one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you don't see that. It means that one's sliced up. So that was kind of the first task that I worked on. And the second task was a bit more specific, and it was related to one of like the specific data sources called errors. So with errors, what we want is, let me just show you. So this is how it looked, right, on my local. So what happens is, if you have say like 100 errors, we are not solving the problem of the limited space. It's still getting botched up. But we do want to look at every single error, because say that some error level is fatal. So we want to go back, we want to have a look at it, we want to fix it, right? But again, we don't want this space to get botched up. So what we thought is segregating every single error. So how we did that is kind of like this. So we specified every single error with like a different numbering system, which segregated them, so that now we can go back there, check all of those, and then maybe if we want to work on this one, we could go back and fix it. So yeah, that's pretty much it. So not big tasks, but yeah, these are the two that I worked on this week. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm gonna pass it back to Russell if you guys have no questions.
Awesome. Thank you. Keep it moving in the interest of time. Okay. So this is by far the nerdiest meme on the planet. So all the computer science people here, I hope you get a good laugh. But Rudy and Tommy this should say Mariano and Tommy. I'm so sorry about that. This is Mariano C. and Tommy have been working on a feature in VDA that is what's called a lith graph, which basically defines a route in which the direction can go. So think of it as, okay, AGVs are following like magnetic tape or something along the lines of that around a facility. They have very fixed ways that they can move. VDA has a way to define that such that an AMR can also follow those strict routes. And this is a feature that we had not implemented in our initial implementation of VDA. It came a little bit later in the standard, but it's actually what SICK is using. So we have a demo and simulation that shows how we're starting to parse these graphs, which is something that we also shared with SICK. So I will pass it on to Lee. Mariano is going to present because Tommy said his computer might explode if he tried.
Yes, so I will share my screen. Share now. Okay, let me show the entire this one. Okay, so first of all, as a brief summary, because there are like many things to explain because VDA 5050 is kind of new, but basically the first task was to be able to upload this behavior graph that the robot can follow. Basically, a behavior graph defines different nodes and edges that where an AGV can go or move through. If you have a map, the robot will be only be able to move through these points or through these nodes. So the first thing that we have done was define to like a new kind for the Confi API, where we can upload this behavior graph. Yeah, we took an example of the one that SIG had. So yeah, and as you can see in this behavior graph, it's just a JSON where we have nodes and node IDs and the coordinates. Then you have much more information, but for this example, we just have this. So you have the nodes defined and the edges defined. So that's important because as you can see here, Ryu.
Yeah, just a quick question. So edges and nodes are like waypoints, right?
Right.
And was it that the nodes are like a kind of a parent waypoint, and edges are like smaller one in between?
No, nodes are like waypoints, and edges are like the links between nodes. So, for example, here we have I don't know, node ID 1, node 1, and node 2, and then if you go to edges, you have this edge, which this is the ID. And you have start node ID 1 and end node ID 2. It means that this edge links node 1 to node 2.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So it defines driving a straight line between.
Right, a straight line, right. Yeah, so that's the first stuff. Like we have to find a way to upload this to Inorbit so we can have access to this layout. So we did this via the config API. Yeah, and then the most important part was like integrate this with missions. Basically, we designed like a new mission executor only for VDA 5050. And yeah, as you can see, here we have a mission definition. We define the steps and the waypoints like for every mission on Inorbit. And you can see here the data of the for the mission. We have two important keys here. That the first one is the layout that I showed before. That is the layout ID. It must match this one. And the scope, right? So this information is important because then the executor will have to access to the layout that we defined previously. So with this ID, the executor will have access to that information through the API. And then we just define two waypoints, right? Waypoint 3 and waypoint 4. And I will start running it now. And just, I mean, for you to know, this one is waypoint 3, waypoint 1 is this one, waypoint 2, and waypoint 4. They are just random. So basically, the idea is that if we say to the robot to go to waypoint 3, it has to find the best way. That task is done by the executor. The best way, and the fastest way, or the fastest path to go from one point to another one. So yeah, once we, yeah, there I'm just showing this is the simulation robot. On the left hand side, you can see the logs of the mission executor, and on the right hand side, the ones from the master controller. So basically, the mission executor will send the order to the master controller, and then the master controller to the robot, to the AGV or simulated AGV. So the first one is easy because, as you can see, the first step or the second one is to move to waypoint 3. That is like the robot will move finding the best way. I will show them the simulation so you can see why it chose that route. But then now you will see that the robot, it has to move to a, oh, this, I think this just messed up, sorry. I started again. After the robot reaches the waypoint 3, it will have to move to waypoint number 4. That is the last one, this one. And what I want you to see is which path the robot decides to take, because yeah, it has to follow the paths, the edges, sorry, and nodes that are available on the leaf layout. It cannot just plan a straight path. So you will see that now it will not go directly to waypoint 4 or node 4. It will go to 1 again, then to node 2, and then to node 4. Now to node 2. I just wanted to show the simulation. Yeah, and this is also important. What I want to show here is the part of the order which the master controller receives. Oh, sorry, I don't know what happened with the video. It suddenly, okay, sorry. I think I will run it again.
Can I ask something?
Yes, of course.
So basically, what you guys had to do here is to get what we call the compiled mission into the into the controller so that it could dispatch the whole sequence of waypoints that the mission encompasses in one go, right? So it doesn't have to be being fed one waypoint after another.
Exactly.
After it reaches one waypoint, it gets informed which one is the next.
Yeah.
That's the problem you guys had to solve, right?
Not only that problem, also that from an orbit point of view, yes, but also what we are doing with the previous implementation of VDA, we were just generating nodes with any name, just random names. For example, I don't know, node X or node 1, but we were not following any layout, any layout definition. That's the important part here. That with a layout definition, we know, or we have defined that, I don't know, the point with the coordinates x1, i1 has one node ID related. And that's the main improvement, because with the SIG robots, it didn't work because of that, because we didn't support this layout definition.
Okay. So at a very high level, we are implementing not only compatibility between VDA 5050 missions and in-orbit missions, but we are also making it efficient, right? That's what we are, just, for everyone that is not so deep into VDA to understand at macro level what we are trying to achieve.
Right, exactly. And Tommy, you raise your hand, but
I think one important point is that this is aimed mostly at AGVs, which are guided vehicles, and these layout descriptions describe the guides that these robots can follow. And if we didn't know the guides, then we don't know how to plan a mission for them. So by supporting the definitions, we are allowing just planning missions for these robots, which we couldn't do before.
Right. Yeah, thanks, Tommy, for the clarification. And yeah, now as you can see, of course, the mission is showed as completed. And another, I will show now like kind of an error. I mean, it's not an error, is for you to understand like the BDA or leaf layout. Basically, if we want to use BDA 5050 and leaf, we had some constraints. For example, that we need the points or these nodes, sorry, to be defined in the layout, as I told you. But also, if we want to start the mission, the robot must be located in one of those nodes, not in a random node. This is in the documentation of BDA. Of course, there is a tolerance that it depends on the robot and is indicated on the robot. But yeah, so what you can see here is that the robot is not located on any node. It's just a random point, and of course, the mission we won't be able to dispatch the mission.
That's interesting, by the way. I think it philosophically kind of aligns with the spirit of VDA in the way that it will tell you exactly how to go from waypoint A to waypoint B, and it's not supposed to, if the robot is in a random place, it's not supposed to allow the robot to choose, which path to take to somewhere. So that kind of makes sense in the grand context of VDA. You have to start in a specific waypoint.
Exactly. Yeah, I just wanted to show that I think you cannot see it, but yeah, there is an error that says the graph couldn't be found. So yeah, the path cannot be planned. Sorry, I said that VDA is huge. I wanted to show, explain some stuff of everything, include as much as I could. But yeah, of course, there are many things to do, because the robot not just navigate to a point. They also have to run actions in the points and certain nodes and points. That's, for example, that's not implemented yet, but yeah, it's an idea of
how do we model actions? to be taken at waypoints.
What do you mean? I mean, what I say with actions is that when we define the layout, we can also define the possible actions that the robot can do in that node.
They're defined in the VDA spec.
Sorry, Russell, I didn't hear
They're
you.
defined in the VDA spec, so like you can have like a drop off action,
Right.
and that would indicate that something was dropped off, and then that gets stored like somewhere saying, "Hey, I dropped off package 5 at node 2."
Thank you.
Yeah, real.
Yeah, I think yeah, thanks for showing, Mariano. I think this is great that we now, support these VDA missions in our in-orbit control. This might be more a question to Russell, but are we planning to get any AGVs for robot space? Just curious, because I think in reality, the AGVs typically actually have those lines that it follows, right? In a warehouse or
Right.
anywhere when it's
Right.
deployed.
Actually, yeah. Sorry. Yes. Actually, I mean, we have one of the creates of the SIG road space that at least support this. I mean, BDA and also this layout definition. So of course, it will be really helpful for the tests.
So the create, you mean that small?
Yeah, the small
experimental one.
Right.
Or are you talking about that create 3?
Create 3. Sorry.
Oh,
yes.
okay.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
okay.
SIG has a modified version of the Create 3 that they allowed us to borrow. They're using it in their facilities for testing.
Okay.
It is kind of a toy example. So Florian and Ramiro are trying to find ways of getting like a more industrial example of what we would use.
I see.
Mm-hmm. But to show the compliance with the protocol, the Create 3, it's a good stack. We can show compliance with that.
Exactly.
Then the demos will have to involve other roads. We have other roads that implement VDA. We actually have also now an RTLS device that it's also VDA compliant. The Kira, it's VDA compliant, but as Russell mentioned, we would like to reach an agreement with Agilox or one of the bigger robot suppliers to see if they want to have a shared marketing experience in the robot space, and they can lend us an actual big robot that fully implements VDA for the final proper demo.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
We have 3 stages for that, basically.
Yeah, we'll be doing a bunch more VDA demos as we go on. Just wanted to show a little bit of progress as we go. Cool. So thanks to everyone for the wins and demos. I think we have just enough time to do the trivia game. So I'm going to go ahead and get that set up. So we do have 9 or 10 trivia questions that got submitted. So there's a link that I will share. Let me share the screen first. Okay, so I will put the link in here, and I have not used this software before. I Googled around, so bear with me, but you should be able to join that with that link. And then we can start the trivia session. There we go. At least it worked for some people. Just give it a minute. Okay. Okay. Is everyone good? People are changing their avatars. I love it. Very important. All right, I'll go ahead and get started so we run out of time. I think there's a 20-second limit on each one, so we should be good, and then we'll do the wheel of names afterwards. So It is based on the correct answer, and then the ties will go to whoever gets the fastest response. So there'll be a question in there, and then there's 4 choices for each question. So they're all submitted fun facts about people at the company. Okay, normally people have 206 bones, but an orbiter has 207. They have 1 extra bone in one of their feet, according to the doctor, but they've never seen it. And that's Mariano C. And only 1 person got it right, which was probably Mariano. Awesome. All right. This orbiter recently set back up their saltwater aquarium after it's unfortunately crashed during COVID times. A friendly new sea urchin was added yesterday. And that was me. Yes, I'm getting corals next week, so I'm excited. Every time I tell people I got a new pet, and I say it's a sea urchin, they're very confused. This in order takes claim with evidence of being Time Magazine's Person of the Year in 2006. And that is Jeff. And if you look up Time Magazine in 2006, the Person of the Year is, quote, you. So I thought that was very funny and very clever. And this in-orbiter once made a 180-degree spin in the middle of a snowy highway, crashing into a guardrail. They unfortunately happened early in the morning on the way to Ski Mountain. Luckily, the speed was slow due to the snow, and there was no cars behind them, so they had minimal damages with no injuries. That was Ryu. This in-orbiter proudly talked about playing football with, albeit arguably the shortest 2 players of the Argentinian national World Cup team. And that was Elvio, and they did not play for the national World Cup team. They told him that he did, and for some reason he believed them. So he did not submit that, by the way. I just put it in to try to troll him. This in-order claims they had a hard time coming up with a fun fact for trivia. And to be fair, they did submit one, but I decided to use this one instead. That was Tommy. This in-orbiter loves watching movies and TV shows so much that they even watch stuff from other countries. That was Rudy. Wow, a lot of people got that right. This in orbiter did not submit a fun fact. You gotta get at least a little shaming in here. And this was a trick question. It was any of those answers. All right, final question. I'm the newest member of the engineering team, and while my code has yet to be accepted, I managed to review every line of code presented in front of me. And that is Leon's cat, who now joins our stand-up and does watch all the code and apparently does type some things. So good job to wow, we have a tie for birds. That is very loud. Cool. So I do think it's ironic that our newest member of the team, Rosina, tied for first place on fun facts about Japanese people.
I was laughing about it. I'm like that's got to be a cat.
Okay, so we will go to the lovely wheel of names.
Sorry, quick win for Rosina. I don't know if she's joined wins yet, so a welcome introduction to her on our wins. And a big win for our team as well.
Yes, thank you for that.
Sure. All right. Oh, Joe, you want me to give an introduction, or are we waiting for Will's name? Oh, there you go. Nice.
So again, we usually troll LV all the time, but he's not here. Yeah, do you want to do like a quick bit, like 60-second elevator pitch on introducing yourself?
I'll do a 20-second one.
All right.
I'm Rosina Fieser. I'm new head of marketing. Very excited to be here. I've worked in the past with cutting edge software and growing and getting more revenue. So I'm looking forward to doing the same here. On a personal note, I have 2 kids, 2 girls. One's almost 13, God help me, and the other one is 8. And so I spend a lot of time with them. They have way cooler hobbies than I do, and so I'm also partial chauffeur, and that's my life in a nutshell. And married for 14 years, or close to it. So, and here I am, and I'm based in Connecticut. I guess that's it. All right. Any questions? I'm here, always available.
Awesome. I grew up in Connecticut in Fairfield County, so
nice.
Nice to see another Connecticut person. Okay, so the way this works is we spin the wheel, and that person hosts this meeting, which happens every 2 weeks. So I went ahead and removed the names of the people that won the game, and we will go ahead and click this. Ooh, look at that, right on the line. Which is perfect because he was supposed to do it this week, I think, and then I took it over. So awesome. Okay, thanks everybody. We're 1 minute over, so appreciate everything.
See ya.
Thank you, Russell.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Russell.
everyone.
Bye.
See you.